how many breaches, I just had this discussion earlier today. How many breaches still occur because basics 101 are missed, right? Plain and simple. Servers are exposed to the internet. They're not patched. You're not running EDR. You're not running endpoint detection, and you're not running IDS, IPS. And somebody that big should be going back to 101. This goes back to their governance, which is now the responsibility of the board of directors, right? And now in their annual disclosures, every public company actually has to disclose who is responsible for security, not just who, but also what they're doing to ensure security, right? So your policies, your procedures, they want to know everything now. And you have to disclose that so an investor can look at that at the end of the year, look at that, and go, okay, I want to put $10 million or $100 million, or I want to put $3. You know what? I want my money back. That's really what it's about. I mean, so it goes right back down to they don't have the 101, they don't have the basics. Now it's going to become exposed because you have to file that every year. So I think it's going to come down to an embarrassment factor and force people to go back to the 101s, start over from scratch. Before any board of director, I mean, I sit on boards, and I'm not going to take responsibility for something I have absolutely no clue what you're doing, right? I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to ask all the tough questions, show me the metrics, et cetera, show me the dashboard, show me your policies, procedures, show me your third party audits, knowing that I know that when I sign my name to that, I'm not going to jail, right? So I think a lot of that going back to just the 101 is really going to set in this year with public companies, because a lot of public companies, I've seen a lot of public companies. Let me rephrase. Let me put different phrasing on that. Don't do simple one-on-one stuff because they think they're too big. It's not going to happen to me. Or you know what? I trust somebody. Somebody said something 1996, so I'm good. And that unfortunately happens.
So this also brings into light something I think that we've talked a lot about in the industry over the years, which is supply chain third-party risk management. Now we should be adding that to our monitor, right,
Yeah.
for our partners and service chain providers, which is what do their 8Ks say? What does their 10K say? Right?
Yeah.
And it's funny when I talk to people who are trying to understand, sales forces, right? People who are looking to go out and understand a client that we bring on. And I'm like, if they're public, the first thing I'll say is, have you read their 10K filing?
Yep.
What's their strategic plan? Right? It's the same thing now, except the SEC rulings. Do they have any 8Ks? Right? Do they have any 6Ks, which are now required as part of this ruling? So you need to do your due diligence when you're looking at new vendors to see what is the state of their material cybersecurity capability. And that's a new role. That's not something organizations have proactively been doing for them. Even those with robust third-party risk programs aren't necessarily going to that level, and the SEC filings are public. So
Yeah.
now all I have to do is go to the SEC site, and I can look that up. Now I can flip that with my adversary hat and say, I'm feeding information to the bad guys about the state of my cyber program. And that was some of the comments made during the comment period for this ruling was, well, we don't want to expose critical infrastructure information to adversaries. Well, yeah, you're right. There's a certain balance you have to strike between revealing that you've got robust cyber controls and revealing that you've underinvested and need to invest more.
Right? This is where I think it's going to play out in court, right there.
Yeah. That's going to be the argument is, well, I'm telling everybody where I have a weakness so that they know how to attack.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also heard the counter argument, well, the bad guys aren't going to look at 8Ks and 10. Yeah, they are. Absolutely are. It's intelligence. It's open source intelligence. They're absolutely, once they know that it's available, it will become a source. They'll automate it. They'll feed it into their databases on the back end. They'll use it in their attack strategy. It's still a lot more work than just asking somebody for their password and getting in that way, which still continues to work. And if we have to talk about foundational skill, access management is still the biggest failure of control. And the second biggest failure of controls that we see in companies is logging and monitoring, right? And even if you have a SIM, I often find with companies we speak with companies I've worked in, to be fair, that we log everything, but we don't look at any.
Yeah.
Or we don't log the right.
Yeah, or we log too much. And now
noise, especially with ML-based SIMs, which is what everybody's moving towards because there's just so much volume of information, you have to be able to sort it. The more you feed the model, the more cluttered the model becomes and the less efficient. So it's really, do you understand what events you have and where those sources of those events are, and how do you find those things rapidly. So getting back to that 4-day notification, you've got to tune your monitoring capabilities to know when an event occurs so that you can quickly ascertain whether it's material.